David, you talk about the moment of insight and its importance. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. In my partnership with New York University, we've been researching the science of coaching, and we've been trying to understand what goes on in the brain specifically when we're coaching. And how I got to that is we, after teaching this coaching model and watching these conversations that were much faster, I started to wonder, how come this is happening? And I just kept being pointed to neuroscience and brain functioning, and that there was something going on, in the brain. And through researching, what became clear, and through researching and thinking about it and talking to people, was that when I coach you, for example, the really important moments are the moments when you see something, and you'll use the word see usually, is that you'll see something that you hadn't seen before. And those moments are the moments that are really important, and we thought, well, that's obviously a moment of insight. We started to do a research project on what's going on in the brain during that moment, and got a grant to do some MRI studies and all sorts of things, and then found out that all the studies we wanted to do had actually been done by a bunch of disparate scientists from various parts of the world, and we were able to bring together a unified theory of, if I can call it that, of what's happening in the brain when we coach people. And really central to that, it's a long answer to a short question, but really central to that is when you have an insight, there's this whole new map created in the brain, and that map, the creation of that map gives off energy. And you can see it on people's faces. From some of the sessions before, there's a moment when someone kind of makes this connection, and it's clear that connection is giving off energy. And in fact, some research has been done which is showing that the brain gives off gamma band waves in a big spike right at that moment. And preceding that are alpha waves, which is a whole different state. There's a whole lot of science in there. But the essence of it is people won't do anything unless they've thought it through for themselves and have kind of worked out how it fits. And the fastest way to get that happening is to help the other person have an insight, for themselves. So we've been studying how do you get people to have insights, how do you get people to hold on to those insights, how do you help those insights be more clear, more sharp. That's really the domain of how to coach really quickly and effectively.
And so what happens next? I mean, after the coaching conversation and somebody has the insight, sort of then what?
Yeah, that's a great question. Carol before had a really powerful insight. And it was, one of them was to prepare for her meetings when she's presenting information ahead of time, and to talk it out with someone else after she's let it sit for a while. And she could see that would really help her look at the preparation at a much deeper level. It would help her be more effective. Now, she had already thought about that in the hour since we'd spoken. She'd already thought about that several times and was already kind of acting on that, like she'd naturally been picturing what she would do and where she would do it. So she was starting to anchor that into her thinking. Now, if that's all we did, there's a reasonable chance she would go off and do that. But she also is going to, download her emails tomorrow and probably see 75 things that she has to suddenly deal with, and the next day another 100, and the next day, and it can be very easy for this great idea to get lost.
Right.
Now, if I say to her, can I follow up with you and see how that goes? This idea is going to stay much more top of mind because she's expecting, me to ask. We don't like to let people down. So this idea is going to come up more and more. She'll probably write it down now as a result, which means that she'll be creating deeper connections in the brain to this idea. So the act of following up is really important. It's not just to see if people have done what they said they're going to do. That's sort of the smallest value. It actually ensures people do what they say, and it gets them to focus more deeply on their new idea through the week as well. So following up, setting up an agreement to follow up is really useful, and it helps ensure that someone's good idea actually becomes reality.